Good morning, Unicity family. Good morning to everybody. My name is Lo Lily. I'm the new Regional Director for Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and Brunei. Great to meet all of you here today. What is the number of new COVID cases today? Oftenly heard and asked by everybody this year. COVID has claimed 1.5 million lives this year. It is sad, but this is pale in comparison to the number one killer in the world, cardiovascular diseases. According to World Health Organization, cardiovascular diseases has remained the number one killer for last 20 years. Last year, it claimed 9 million lives. Yet, we don't do enough to prevent and treat this leading disease. But what is crucial to know, even if a condition like cardiovascular disease runs in your family, you can do a lot to break that pattern. Your choices and lifestyle makes a big difference, huge difference. Today, we will hear from Claudia Yu, our product specialist for Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, that some genes lead to diseases, but for most people, a healthy lifestyle trumps inherited risks. Over to you, Claudia.
Okay, thank you, Miss Lily, for the introduction. Indeed, yes, the current incidence, for non-communicable disease is much more higher than that of COVID. So once again, good morning to everyone. I'm really glad to be given this opportunity to share with you again. So can you give me a few minutes as I share my screen? Okay. So many of you may wonder, Claudia, why are you choosing this topic? Why food versus genes? The reason why I chose this topic is because it has been a debate for as long as I could remember. Well, I remember hearing conversations where there are two groups of people. There are one group of people who are very into the genetic part of their health. They believe that whatever diseases that they have, that they're experiencing right now, is a result of inherited defects they get from their family. So they'll be very adamant to say that, oh, because my family got this disease, that's why I also have this disease. However, there are another group of people where they think that this idea is completely wrong. They will be thinking that, hey, it's not so much of the inherent genes that you have, but it's the food and the lifestyle that you are currently having as well. So is there one thought that's more true than the other, or they are almost the same? So today, you'll be this journey with me to unravel the truth behind both of these statements. Okay, before I start, here is a very quick disclaimer. Okay, genes. So how exactly strong are they when people talk about genetic influence? But the risk of diabetes, according to statistics, will increase 2 to 4-fold if one or both of your parents have type 2 diabetes. So it seems to me that 2 to 4-fold is a pretty big statistic here. And if you have any genetic factor pertaining to metabolic syndrome, the likelihood of you getting any one of these symptoms will be 50% higher. Meaning to say that you have 1 in 2 chance of having either the big three, high blood sugar, high blood pressure, or high cholesterol. And if you look at cancer, this is a very popular one. Okay, if you look at direct family history, okay, and if you do have this indicates that you will have significantly higher risk of also having cancer. So they seem to be pretty staggering if you were to ask me. So these are just statistics, right? Let's trace back to how all this happened before a life is formed. All right, so according to this study, they actually trace back to the lifestyle and dietary intake of a pregnant woman. So apparently, during the phase in which they are pregnant, okay, if they were to eat any food that's high in fat or sugar, or they tend to not eat sufficient vitamin and mineral at this point of time, together with constant exposure of chemical, smoke, or detergent, coupled with the effects of stress of needing to deliver a child, all these factors will then be translated as chemical signals. And these chemical signals will then be transmitted through the blood and it will be passed on to the fetus. So when this happens, say if the child were to be age 5, we can see a pattern starting to form. The child will have a tendency to overeat, don't know how to stop, even though they're full, but they just indulge in overeating. Okay, and children at this point would also be very picky in the food that they eat. Okay, especially when it comes to vegetables, it can be very hard to encourage them to eat. They're not just only dietary changes that we observe, even psychological effects are being exhibited, such as aggressive behavior, hyperactive behavior, all right? Children can't seem to settle with jumping here and there and being very temperamental. So it seems like there are studies that trace all these results due to food and lifestyle factors. And let's just follow through this child until he's around his pre-adolescent age. Okay, this is roughly around 10 to 13 years. So if any of these habits were not being reversed, highly likely that they will also continue to overeat and cultivate a lot of unhealthy habits, such as being very sedentary. And now with the addition of phones, this is not getting any easier. And this is also the age where they'll be influenced into doing unhealthy habits, such as smoking. So if they fall in this range, and studies show that pre-adolescent at this age, their effects will be transmitted over 3 generations. And they find that their grandchildren, their granddaughter, and their grandsons all will have a shorter lifespan. And we're not even talking about adult age, or if you are matured in your age. Even pre-adolescent, they can map out such a huge prediction. And you may be thinking that, oh, it's only just 2 to 3 generations. But this is just half of the picture. In reality, it can link up over 10 generations. So if you ask me, I think this is a pretty significant effect. And it's true that genes can be amplified through over generations. So it looks like all these statistics is true to a certain degree. But we all know that the root cause of the problem is still food and environment. So with that out of the way, many people will be thinking that, if I can control my health, I would just have to eat healthy or to exercise a bit more, right? And by doing all that, I can reverse the 2 to 4-fold risk that I carry. But not so fast. Why do you think so? That's because during the mid-1990s, this is the point where industrialization is happening. And at this point of time, modern nation is at its peak. So back in the days, all this processed food is very expensive. I remember during my parents' time, it's very difficult to come across potato chips and ice cream. And these are usually an indulgence, right? But during this point of time, they are mass producing. So they have found a way to make things tasty and cheap. And that is also when we are all exposed to genetically modified foods, which is GMO. In fact, at that point of time, more than 60% of all these foods have already contained GMO. So let's take a look at how our food has changed over the years. So natural peach looks like this, right? Before any of these things has happened, right? The fruit of a peach is really tiny. As you can see here, it's tiny, it's only 64% of edible flesh. And in fact, the taste is earthy, sour, and it's not that sweet as we eat it today. However, now our peach has transformed completely. It is nothing like how peach were back in the day. So now peach has increased 64 times. It's very tasty and juicy, and it has 90% edible flesh. So if you were to ask me, I think the difference is pretty significant. How about watermelon? Just so you know, watermelon back in the day looks like this. Right, the red color part isn't that prominent. Okay, in fact, it's dominated by the white part of the watermelon that cannot really be eaten. So the red flesh is very sparsely located, and the taste is bittersweet. And it only has 1.9% of sugar. But we all know the watermelon that we have now today is completely different. We can hardly see any white flesh. In fact, most of the watermelon is red in color, and it's bright red. So it's full of red flesh, and not only that, it tastes extremely nice, right? It's very tasty and juicy. It's very sweet, and sugar has increased up to 6.2%. And this is translated to 3.3 times sweeter than how watermelon was back in those days. Lastly, you have corn. Okay, last time corn really isn't like how we are enjoying it now. It looks very tough. It's hard to peel, and it's very small in size. And it also only has 1.9% of sugar. But we all know now, we enjoy and love the corn that we have today, right? It is extremely juicy, and it is very easy to peel. Okay, as long as you steam it long enough, I'm sure the juice will be spilling out from your mouth. And it's 1,000 times bigger, all right? And not only that, it is 6.6% sugar. And if you do a comparison, it is 3.5 times sweeter than how corn was days before. So isn't it a very startling difference? So you may be thinking, okay, how is GMO done exactly, right? Isn't it harmless? They just maybe modify the gene a little bit and let it be, and allow it to grow on its own. Genetic engineers can pull a desired gene from any organism, okay, and insert it into virtually any other organism. Meaning to say that they can crossbreed. So they can take a gene from an animal and to put it into plants and use genes from plants and put it into animals. So these are some of the experiments that's been done. Okay, for some example, they can put a red gene into a lettuce to make a plant produce more vitamin C. And they can insert genes from moth into apple plants to protect bacterial disease that may damage apples and pears. So, and for potatoes, they modify it with genes from bees and moth to protect crops from fungus. Grapevines, right, they can merge with silkworm genes to make the vine resistant to diseases. So if you ask me, I don't feel very comfortable with the idea of me eating food that has red genes inside. Okay, and there's so much that talks about how food is more nutritious nowadays, and they're actually incorporating animal genes into the food, and I'm quite bizarre after knowing how it's done. So since GMO is so controversial, and I'm pretty sure with the explanation that I've given you just now, you all must be feeling a bit unsettled. And this is the reason why there's a lot of protests going on, right? People are signing petition to stop GMO. So is it going to go away? I don't think so. Why? Okay, they are not going to stop anytime soon simply because of this reason. They're bigger, they're fleshier, they're juicier, and much more tastier. This is enough of a reason for GMO food to stay. If you were to eat any fruits that is not sweet, what would you think? This fruit is bad, right? No way I'm going to buy it again. Don't taste good. So nowadays we're eating fruits based on its sweetness. And this is the reason enough for producers to keep producing GMO foods to meet the demands of the people. And because of that very reason, they have found ways to make things cheaper and more affordable. And I've come across fruits that are really, really cheap. I came across grapes. I think it was a big bunch, and it's only like 5 ringgit. So in the past, I used to be very happy about it, like, oh, it's a good deal. But after learning about this, it really got me thinking how, there's a reason why the fruit is so cheap. Okay, it could be due to this. And now with how they are more resistant to pests, all right, they can last longer, higher yield, and they use lesser land space and other resources. Okay, you may be thinking, why don't we just incorporate back organic farming, which is very popular nowadays? They're trying to do that. And some people are even thinking of replacing organic foods, all right, and growing it using our parents' way to replace GMO. I can tell you this is not really possible because traditional farming methods require a lot of land space. And the population, the world population will be growing in double in the next few years to come. So we do not have enough land space, water, or soil to be able to keep up with organic farming if we were to do it large scale. So it looks like GMO is here to stay. In fact, I'm pretty sure that we all have eaten 1 or 2 of these things in our lifetime, right? GMO is already so rampant. It has flooded our food chain for as long as you can remember. So it looks like the food that we're eating right now isn't that safe anymore. And that's not just the only reason. Okay, there are other factors such as, right, about how clean our air is. As long as we are driving, we are using cars, and we are switching on our air conditioner, this problem is not going to go away. Right? It's here and it's going to get even worse. Next, stress. Okay, many people overlook about how significant stress can affect the body. Okay, and not to also mention about sanitization, right? Of course, right now we cannot avoid using this because we need to curb the virus. However, frequent inhalation of all these chemical substances, even detergents, soap, right? All these things are proven to be carcinogenic for the body. So collectively, all these factors will further threaten the DNA. So let me spend a bit more time to talk a bit more about stress. Okay, just as I mentioned, and I think that a lot of people normalize stress. They think that stress is part of our lifestyle, but they do not know the extent of how stress can affect the body. So just like how a phone is protected by casing, our DNA is also protected by a layer of casing. And usually our body will produce this casing on its own. However, under long stress situations, our body will lose its natural ability to produce this protective casing. Over time, this cell will either die or become inflammatory. So this is pretty important. And exposure to stress can modify this protective casing, which may alter gene expression and therefore contribute to disease phenotypes. Stress can also cause our immune system to malfunction, allowing cancer cells to escape and spread to the body. So this is just the surface of the problem. Okay, in fact, I don't have the time today to talk more about this, but this can give you an idea about how it affects our body cells. So you may be thinking, since food cannot really help us, nor exercise can help us much in this area, so is it like a death sentence? Is there a way to break a curse? So let's not end things with such a dull note, shall we? There is some hope for us. Despite strong family history, we can still silence harmful genes and activate beneficial genes. Disease linked to genetic modifications can be influenced by environmental and dietary factors. Phytochemicals from plants and herbs can help to put these harmful genes at bay. And as a result, it can help to prevent DNA damage and block inflammatory response that may potentially harm the body. So, seems like there is still a ray of light here for us. So this is really, really interesting. I'm pretty sure you all have heard about this as well. People will be telling you about how my family is all slightly on the heavier side. That's why I'm also very heavy. And some people will be saying that, my family line, most of them are on the leaner side. So no matter what they eat, they will be very thin, right? So I did a bit of digging on this to see how true is this claim. So it seems like there is some relationship with our genes. Body weight is regulated by genes that control energy balance. And then it says that dietary macronutrients that affect DNA could contribute to obesity through genetic mechanism. So just to give you an illustration of how this works, it looks like this. So this IRX3/5 is just one of the genes that control how our body will store and burn fat. So for some individuals, okay, in their gene line, this switch that's supposed to be storing fat is turned on. So some of them will find themselves at a dilemma, right? If they eat a little bit of food, their body have this tendency to store fat very easily. So they pack out the pounds also slightly faster than an average person. So on the other hand, we have people who are very high metabolism. Okay, this thing is switched off. So, if this thing is switched on, right, for those who have high metabolism, their body will burn more fat. So even though they eat more food, they are able to burn it off faster compared to a person who cannot activate this switch. So there's some genetic element here. But there are things that we can do that can influence these switches. So there are genes that can promote fat cell formation, right? In fact, genes control every single function in the body, right? It will control the rate in which we able to metabolize the sugars that is in our bloodstream. It will control the rate we produce insulin. It will also contribute to how our body would produce inflammation, and even to the sense of taste. So some people will have a very hard time switching their diets to a healthy one. Right? They just find their taste bud unable to move away from fried food, from sugary stuff. They just cannot break that, because genetically it may also be influenced up to the way they taste food. So if you were to ask me, there's a lot, in fact, very close relationship between genes and obesity. So this is the topic that I want to really talk about today, genome-ceutical, right? And I think that many people know that this is a big word, right? And it sounds really scientific, but not many people really understand, okay, the extensive ability of this technology and how revolutionary it is compared to any other supplements. Well, I've seen quite a lot of supplements in my time here, but I've never came across any supplements that can claim to do this. So let's look into this a bit more. So in order for us to patent something, all right, genome means gene, ceutical means supplements. So for us to even put this as patent, it's not so simple. We have to make sure that we have done sufficient clinical tests to prove that this function is true. So we have done that, right? So for all our genome-ceutical range, we have successfully obtained a patent. Okay, in fact, you can even find this out in Google, right? How it can promote gene regulation through microRNA. And if you want to be more specific, this is the patent number, right? For those who likes to read, okay, you can read. It's extensive. All right, they are very specific into what ingredients activate what particular type of genes. So I've done the reading for you. Okay, in summary, they have managed to find ingredients that can beneficially regulate different genes that can promote health and down-regulate genes that will harm the body. So I want to talk about core health. Right now, I also noticed I didn't really talk much about it, but after reading about how great this genome-ceutical technology is, I can't help but to share with you. And this is indeed a revolution. Right? Primary metabolites are what we're all familiar with, such as protein, carbs, mineral, and vitamin. So these are general nutrients that a growing plant would have. And these nutrients are what form structure of a plant, right? It's because it helps to support growth and reproduction, so on and so forth. But next, once it reaches a certain maturity age, plants would then produce this thing called secondary metabolites. So you may be wondering, what is this really about? So secondary metabolites consist of phytochemicals and polyphenols. So many people may be wondering, what is the difference between vitamin, minerals, and phytochemicals? Aren't they the same thing? So I've done up something to illustrate this point better with all of you. Okay, so vitamin and minerals, they are non-species specific, meaning to say that we can find vitamin C in many foods and vegetables, right? And vitamin C is pretty general. Okay, the molecular structure of vitamin C is the same in orange, in kiwi. You can even find some of this in some vegetables. So it's pretty standard across the board. But phytochemical, this thing is very species specific. And the more tangible illustration is the color, the pigment of a plant. So curcumin, for example, is specific to turmeric only. So you can only find turmeric in, you can only find curcumin in the turmeric family. So you can't really find curcumin in apple, in vegetable, can't really do that. Likewise to lycopene, okay, you can only find the same family but not to other plants that are not of the same group. And because of this reason, all right, vitamin and mineral is very much needed for growth. So it's produced in large quantities. Okay, likewise with us as humans, okay, we need large amounts of vitamin and mineral to function. We need protein and carbs, right, for energy. So this is produced in large quantities. But phytochemical will only be produced at a very specific age of the plant. All right, and for us to extract this, okay, it is only in small quantities. It's not as much as this. So just to give you an example, right? If you eat curry outside, all right, they say eating curcumin is very good, right? But for outside food, the percentage of curcuminoid is only 3%. So there's how little in one serving, you know. So it's produced in very small quantities only. And because of its large quantities, vitamin and mineral is also a lot easier to extract. So we can get it in large amounts. Okay, it isn't so difficult. But phytochemical, okay, because of how little our plants were to produce them, it's very difficult to extract. And because of this very reason, that's why any products that has high amounts of this is slightly on a higher end. Okay, so phytochemical also is what provides plant its medicinal properties. So we have heard about how herbs can help, right? Chinese medicine, many different areas of health, and what really exhibit the anti-inflammatory response and our effect to defend against pathogens really come from this phytochemical aspect. So that's how important phytochemical is really to human health. So why I talk about this, okay, because we have high amounts of this in core health. And this is exactly how the genome-ceutical technology comes in. With this phytochemical, it's able to encourage switches that's supposed to be switched on to remain on, and genes that are not so good for us, right? We'll try to silence those genes, or we call it off, switching those genes off. So you may be wondering some more, okay, how does switch really work? To give you a tangible illustration, here's how it is. So if you're talking about cancer, majority of cancer have long latency period, often 20 years or more. By the time they're clinically detectable, the cells may harbor hundreds of mutations in different genes. So mutations have already happened at that point of time, in 20 years. So before genes mutate to cancer stage, these epigenetic switches have already malfunctioned. So over the years, something has happened which we do not know. So how this happens is, unhealthy foods and lifestyle will fuel on-core genes. So basically, on-core is cancerous. So they will fuel these genes in multiplication. All right, these are genes that will accelerate gene mutation. So phytochemicals will have to regulate this. And more importantly, it helps to ensure that the tumor suppressor genes are switched on. These genes are really important because if these genes malfunction in the body, meaning to say that our body does not have the ability to activate cell death or to seize the cell that is becoming tumor. So these genes is very important to always be in good shape, to be on, so that it can help to prevent abnormal growth of cell. So this is how it works in terms of cancer. So switches can also work the same way in our metabolic health, in how we use protein, carbohydrate, and fat more effectively as well. So if these genes is in a good state at all times, it influences virtually every function in the body. Anything that you can think of, right? These 5 functions are only the general ones, such as body function, metabolism, heart health, circulation, and gut health. These are only just the surface of the many, many other functions that it help to maintain in the body. So that's how extensive genes is. Right? And in my my whole dietetic career, this is the first time that I've come across a supplement fact that is as extensive as this, right? It has so many ingredients, right? And just to give you some examples, right? Grape seed extract, as you know, is very expensive. And we have standardized it to 98% of polyphenol. So this is very high percentage of phytochemical, right? And we also have sulforaphane from broccoli and proanthocyanidins. So usually outside supplementation, they may sell you maybe one or two of these components only, and they're really, really expensive. So for core health, we've incorporated 41 different food to give us a wide variety of phytochemicals. And all these things, if we take it consistently into the body, it will provide to us 300 active secondary metabolites. 300. So this will going to help to regulate our genes in a significant manner, right? To do things beyond a natural multivitamin that they definitely cannot do. So next, I just want to talk about the next genome-ceutical product, which is Bio7. Why I say so is because of this unique yeast fermentate, right? This is the one that really has that genome-ceutical ingredient inside, right? We've incorporated some very special polyphenol together with this yeast. And once it is in our body, all right, it will then switch on good bacteria in the gut, all right, switch on those switches to encourage them to grow even more than usual prebiotic supplements. So we've incorporated, compounds from pomegranate and all these apples and fruits. And let's take a look at the results. So this is the state of a gut, all right, that has not taken Bio7 before. So before you can see is the large majority is still the bad bacteria. Okay, and good bacteria, in fact, there's only 3 different types. So by just taking Bio7 twice for 12 weeks only, okay, we can see a significant difference. And I can tell you, no other probiotic can give us this. Because in order to give us not just only so many type of good bacteria, but minimize the bad ones, okay, to produce this kind of significant effect, it has to do with gene expression already, because it's way more powerful than what vitamin can do. So this is really an amazing, amazing product. Okay, and last but not least, I want to mention a bit on joint mobility as well. Okay, because I've done a more extensive presentation on this, I won't go into detail, but it does have some ingredients that I think is really worth mentioning. One is the turmeric. As you mentioned, turmeric spice, okay, most of the time only has 3%. So if you want to eat from curry, you need to eat many more bowls than that. But for our Unicity joint mobility, the turmeric is 95% curcuminoid. So this is 30 times more, right? And if you want to eat curry, you need to eat 90 bowls of curry in order for you to get this standardized amount. So not just only it has turmeric, okay, which have excellent anti-inflammatory response, can help to even manage liver disease and degenerative eye disease, but it also has boswellia. So boswellia and turmeric they work really well together. They can not only give us joint health, but overall just better anti-inflammatory properties. So I put Colorflex here because Colorflex also contain this ingredient. It does not have boswellia, but they also use the genome-ceutical ingredient that is contained in joint mobility. So I think this is also something that you can take if you can't have joint mobility in your area. So there are also other ingredients such as omega-3 resolve and bone fortify. They are all also within the genome-ceutical range. They can also create amazing benefits for the body. So, okay, I have one last product to mention. This is not under the genome-ceutical range. However, I think they do have some pretty impressive qualities that I want to share with all of you. So Daily Produce 24, we use natural extract of 12 whole fruits and 12 vegetables. So of course, it's not as high-end as Core Health, and Core Health uses 41 fruits and vegetables. So this uses 24 in total, which is not too bad as well. Right, it retains natural deep color. If you open it, it looks really bright, indicating that there's high levels of nutrient activity. And it retains nutritional integrity without excess processing, which may damage and weaken phytonutrients and its potency. And best above all, it can be taken by vegetarians. Right? It's packed in plant-based capsule without any trace of animal products. So I think Unicity, our products are really, really good. Right? Even those who are not even in that genome-critical range can exhibit such powerful effects to the body. So after a long session, okay, I hope you're able to retain everything that I've taught you. So just to go through some of the summary. Number one, food, lifestyle, and environment factors still play a bigger role in disease prevention. Okay, in fact, they can reverse the effect of genetic predisposition as long as we consistently live out a healthy lifestyle. In fact, all our lifestyle decisions will be amplified through genetic inheritance. So every bad decision will be inherited, but this also means that every good decisions that you do today by taking care of your body and taking supplements, really, right? Genome-critical supplements can protect not only you, but your future generations. Relying on healthy eating food and lifestyle alone is no longer sufficient. Okay, as our food chain is no longer safe. You know, who know what is another thing that we'll find out through our food. So genome-critical, right? Unicity revolutionary technology can help in maintaining healthy gene expression. So thank you to all of you. I hope you have learned a thing or two from me today. So we'll be opening time for Q&A. So this is my email, if in case you have anything you want to ask in detail. So now we will move into some sample questions.
Thank you, Claudia. So after listening to the 40 minutes talk, what are you going to do about it? I've taken, can you see? I've taken my Unimate and BIOS this morning. What about you? Have you? Right? Before we wait for any question or for the questions to come in, Claudia, cancer being the #2 killer in the world, all right? Can I understand more? Why are there cancer cells in our body?
Okay, to answer this question, right, let me explain a little bit of how cancer really come about. So cancer happens when there's some form of mutation that happens over time. So for example, many factors could influence. Sometimes it could be age, okay, it just could be exposure to any external chemicals, right? These are things that can stimulate, and even stress, okay? I think I'm blurring out. Can you see? Here I come. Here, okay, all right. And these are things that can actually influence our gene to mutate. So that's how cancer happens. And cancer happens because they cannot grow normally like a normal cell. So it cannot divide as it should. So it will keep dividing, and unable to induce control to it. So that's how cancer cell happens.
All right. Yeah. So does that mean with our genome-critical supplements that we have, does it mean that all these supplements can remove our cancer cells?
Okay, just to give a bit of clarification here, the genome-critical products that we have, all right, what they have is really powerful and potent phytochemicals. So these are things that can only switch on, all right, the beneficial genes, such as, sorry, give me a moment. All right, okay, let's go back to it again. All right, phytochemicals can help to activate the beneficial genes, such as tumor suppressor gene. So there's a lot of study that found how we can help to suppress cancer in such a way, to inactivate or so-called silence genes that are harmful to our body. But what phytochemicals cannot do is it cannot eliminate. All right, it can only switch on and off. It cannot eliminate a gene. It cannot add another chromosome into the gene, all right, and it cannot remove a gene entirely. So our supplements cannot eliminate cancer cells, okay, it cannot remove any gene in this aspect. But if we take it, it can help to minimize our risk of any disease, okay, to minimize any harmful genes that may be activated into the body. So having that is like an insurance to our health. But in terms of eliminating cancer genes, that's not possible. Okay, I'll look into some of the questions here. Yes, actually it applies to the other products because there are also other ingredients that's used in core health. There's also used in the other genome-sustainable products that we have. So it's applicable, yes. What is the difference between joint mobility and Colaflex? The difference is Colaflex don't have boswellia and don't have vitamin D. And the turmeric concentration is slightly lesser. Okay, so it's just a bit of concentration there. But if we take sufficient amount of Colaflex, we can adjust the dose to be like joint mobility. What age our kids can start taking Core Health and Bios Life 7? Core Health and Bios Life 7, our products, the thing is, it's not, we did not do any clinical studies on children. So it's a bit tricky for us to do recommendation for kids, right? So, well, the best time to introduce is when their immune system is more mature, around 17 or 18 years old, yeah. And a person on blood thinner medication take Core Health. I'm not sure because we do have a lot of because there may be chemicals that can the phytochemicals may actually help to increase blood circulation. So I'm not sure if this taking together with blood thinner, would like amplify the blood thinning effect. So I think the best solution is to ask the doctor for their advice to see how to go along with this. Okay, so if we have to choose between good supplementation, genome 1, and lifestyle change, if someone prefers taking good supplementation easier rather than lifestyle changing, would it help? Well, good supplementation will still help to a certain degree, right? It's still insurance for you. Compared to somebody who completely don't take supplementation, it's like no insurance at all. So if that person, for example, is still in under stressful situation, yeah, all the more he should take good supplementation because his body cells is more vulnerable and is in need of better nutrients that can protect the body. So green tea has genome-sustainable activity. Yeah, it has. For the Unicity one I saw in the patent, there is green tea. So it can help to, the one that we have can actually help us. Yeah. If the child is under 17, but height and weight of an adult, can they take Core Health? I think for children under 17, I don't think so. Yeah, because this is actually quite more suitable for more mature and developed immune system. I would still say go for what is written in the product label. Can we still get the benefit of Core Health even if we don't take it routinely? One box for 2 months. Best is to take it every day, all right, and to take it to its full effect. Because if we miss one day, it means that one day our body won't have that protection. So it's not consistent. So in order for us to really experience the full benefit, we have to take it every day consistently. Yeah.
So do we have any more questions? If already, Claudia, somebody asked, if already taken Core Health daily, do we still need to? Oh, okay. Do we still need to, because so many products we are taking, take other supplement?
Okay.
All right.
All right, so it really depends what is your focus. So if you're looking into like general protection for immune health, for wellness, if you take core health, maybe you can just take core health in that. You don't have to take daily produce 24 because you're already taking core health, right? But if you at the same time want to drink a protein shake, because they have very different focus. Okay, like core health focus is more on antioxidative activity that protect our body cells or immune system and things like that. So that's one part of it. So if you want to go into metabolic health, to like weight loss, all right, or to maintain your muscle mass, then we have a different range that can cater for that. So you can take different, but you may not need to take the same product in the same range. Yeah. Sometimes feel overwhelmed taking all of it from Unimate, Buzz Life, Eat, LC, Buzz 7, etc. How to manage it from start, from morning coffee. I think you can always rotate. You can always space it in between days. And if you're taking E or Unimate, you can either take Unimate yesterday or then today you take Buzz E. There's no mandatory that you must take everything in one day. You can always crisscross it and take it whenever you like. But having a variety does help because it has different phytochemicals that can help to overall enhance the body. Yeah.
All right, Claudia, one last question that is on my mind. Does Unicity products contain GMO ingredients?
GMO.
Correct.
Okay, this is a question that I get a lot as well about GMO. Okay, we do testing, all right, another type of testing called PCR test. So after we get all our raw materials from our plants, we will then go through a process called the PCR test. So in this testing, it will identify if there is any traces of genetic modified genes in there. So if they trace it, then our products cannot continue reproduction. So this is a very important test actually that we do in our labs. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. We can't take any more questions due to the time it's out. Thank you very much, Claudia. Thank you everybody for attending today and sparing us some of your time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everybody for your time and patience today. I really appreciate you. So thank you. All right, I will see you all really soon next week. Yeah. Okay, so have a great day. Thank you everybody.